Welcome to the MeidasTouch Network. We're joined by Gloria Johnson, Democratic State Representative from Knoxville, Tennessee. Gloria is running for Senate against MAGA Republican Marsha Blackburn in the upcoming election. And Gloria Johnson was, of course, part of the Tennessee Three, where she faced expulsion. Ultimately, she was not expelled, and the attempt was made on her colleagues, who fortunately got back into the state house. Welcome to the show, Gloria.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Great to be back.
So we've been speaking with each other now for, I think, over 2 years. You've been a frequent guest on the MeidasTouch Network, the early days of the MeidasTouch podcast. And I want to dig into this Senate race. So Marsha Blackburn, MAGA Republican, calling you and others, but calling you a leftist socialist. That's her response to your announcement that you're running, I guess, just calling you names. She thinks that's effective. What's your response to that?
Well, it's hard to take her seriously. I mean, she is our U.S. Senator, but these name calling, no one's ever asked Marsha Blackburn what a socialist is. I'm curious. I don't know if she would know what a socialist was if Karl Marx was doing her hair. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're not serious people.
And I think the people of Knoxville would probably be a bit surprised by, the types of names you're being called. One of the things I found most fascinating about your career is that you actually flipped a red district and you turned it blue. So you understand how you bring people together. How has that informed your run for Senate?
Well, it's really important. People like, this is a really tough race. How are you going to do it? And the reality is, I took a seat that was red, and I have a lot of Republican support in Knoxville. I've got independent support. I have outperformed the top of the ticket in every election cycle that I've won. So the reality is, this is something I've done before. We're ready to do it. We are building a coalition. There's a lot of great groups across the state that have been organizing, and then people were just so energized with the Tennessee Three. And when really not only the state, but the nation and the world even were looking in on what was happening in the erosion of democracy in Tennessee. And they got so excited. And we are building this multiracial, multi-generational, and multi-partisan movement that's going to roll on to November, but also past November. We're going to keep growing and growing, because what Tennesseans are seeing is that their senator is not working for them. She's out here tweeting about someone's going to take your grill away on Labor Day, tweeting about Portland, Oregon, when she hasn't been in Portland, Tennessee, or talked to people in Portland, Tennessee in ages. She hasn't had a town hall in 5 years as Senate, and I believe it was 2 years before that, so 7 years total that she hasn't had a town hall. I talk to Tennesseans, regular Tennesseans, every day all across this state.
Tell us about that experience, though, because one of the things that I found most fascinating when you and I first met is you really developed a blueprint, no pun intended, but how you reach across the aisle, how you bring over independence, and how in the race, tell us about the composition of the race that you previously won to become a state representative. What was the what was the dynamic in that district in terms of, how a Republican was favored, and what were the specific things you did there that really resonated with independents and Republicans who came together with Democrats, progressive liberals, and said, you know what, this is about democracy?
It's getting people to really think about what policies affect their lives. That is so critical. So, but the way that I do it is it has to be grassroots. You're not going to change someone's mind with a piece of mail. You're not going to change somebody's mind on a TV commercial. The reality is you've got to have those door-to-door conversations. We knock thousands and thousands of doors. We make thousands and thousands of phone calls because it's that personal connection. When they know that I'm somebody who cares about what their family needs and that I listen, I am constantly listening to what people have to say, and I bring legislation at the state level that Tennesseans ask me to bring, and people in my district ask me to bring. She wants to say I'm this far leftist, but all the legislation I bring is something that the majority of Tennesseans on all sides of the aisle want, like Medicaid expansion, overwhelmingly supported by a majority of all parties in Tennessee. Um, Paid family leave. 84% of Tennesseans believe we should have paid family leave. Childcare infrastructure, overwhelmingly supported on all sides of the aisles. Cannabis reform. Let's see, public schools. You know, they're trying to privatize public schools here in Tennessee, and everybody loves their public schools. Now, we need to invest in them, and we can do better, absolutely. But we'll never do better if we're draining public tax dollars away to private schools that don't play by any of the same rules. And so the reality is, we want thriving Tennessee families and thriving small businesses. And quite frankly, corrupt Marsha Blackburn is not doing anything for Tennessee families. She's in the pocket of the NRA. She is in the pocket of big pharma and the insurance companies. She just voted to not allow us to negotiate prescription prices for seniors. Who votes to keep prescription prices high for senior citizens? My goodness, that doesn't benefit Tennesseans at all.
And her support of lobbyists who encourage the proliferation of opioids. I mean, it's something that, I know MAGA Republicans want to talk about, opioids, and that's because it is a major issue that absolutely needs to be addressed. But if you just look at her record versus your record, maybe explain the difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to support healthcare for everyone, and that's one of the problems. Prevention is critical and treatment is critical. And if we would expand Medicaid in Tennessee, we would have much more treatment available to folks who become addicted, prevention from them becoming addicted. In particular, one of my own family members, my cousin, got addicted because he didn't have insurance, had an accident working a construction job, couldn't afford the care that he needed for his back injury, and so bought pills on the street and became addicted. And this is what's happening when we don't have preventive policy in place, especially things that we can do like a Medicaid expansion that's paid for. And so all of the things that she is doing is promoting bad health and dangerous and unhealthy for our citizens. And we can just do so much better by talking about the policies that every Tennessee family needs to thrive. And we don't want them just to survive. We want them to thrive, just like we want our small businesses to thrive. And again, she is absent from the equation. And I'm going to be somebody who is going to talk to you. More importantly, though, going to listen to you. We can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. And when you start talking to people about the things and the policies that can really change their lives and our shared values of being healthy and having a good job with a good wage and good benefits so you can retire in dignity, it's just, when you start talking about those things to people, they really get it. And so our job is going to be to go out there and spread this message of who's really working on policies to support them and building coalitions with all of the people. We have a serious problem in Tennessee where our elected officials do not respect the human dignity of every Tennessean. It's as if they only care about, think about, or respect those who agree with them. And when you're elected for everybody. And I will always respect the human dignity of every Tennessean and build policy that benefits the vast majority of Tennesseans. We don't need someone who works only for the wealthy and well-connected and corporations and lobbyists. That's not what Tennesseans want, and it's not what they deserve. And I plan to work for those things and our shared values and valuing each other, keeping our community safe. In Tennessee, 80% of Tennessee families want to see gun sense legislation to make our communities and our schools safer. It's being completely ignored. 80% of Tennesseans also want to see abortion care safe and available. And that is not happening in Tennessee either. She wants a federal ban on abortion, which will be devastating to women and girls, forcing 10-year-olds to carry a pregnancy from a rapist and 20-year-olds and 40-year-olds. This is outrageous. We shouldn't give more rights to a violent rapist to choose the mother of their child than to allow a woman not to have her rapist baby if she chooses.
And then you see how Marsha Blackburn tries to spread disinformation about issues like reproductive rights. And what she and other MAGA Republicans focus on is just the lie that Democrats, they support abortions right before birth and after birth. And that's just the fear tactic. Like that's not true. And here's the thing, Marsha Blackburn, if you and to all the MAGA Republicans, if you have your position and your position is that the rapist should have more rights than the victim of the rape, then say that's your position and just own it. Own your position. That is your position. But yet they make up this lie that there are abortions after birth. And that's what they're spreading right now again. So once and for all, when they say things like that, what is your response to that? Because that's constantly what she's going to be saying in this campaign.
It's propaganda. I mean, that's all it is. There are no, abort 1 minute after birth, she said, that's murder. That is so ridiculous. The Roe standard was up to viability, but we have to allow physicians and women to make the horrible, traumatizing decisions they have to make when there is trauma and there are problems with the pregnancy, whether it be with the fetus or with the mother. We've got to be able to make those decisions. And in Tennessee, what hangs in the balance is a doctor is risking 15 years in prison if someone thinks, well, maybe they shouldn't have done it then. And it sets up this horrible relationship between the patient and the doctor where the closer the patient is to death, the safer the doctor is in doing what they have to do. And that is terrifying for women. We don't need to let them get to the edge of death before a doctor can take care of a situation he knows is going to be incredibly dangerous for both the mother and the fetus. And the reality is that's what happens at late term. Nobody decorates their nursery and then decides to have an abortion. Those situations are people who are in danger, and decisions have to be made. And we have to allow those decisions to be made by experts, the physicians, because for whatever reason, elected officials now think that they are experts in every field, be it medical field, education field, law, legal. A few of them are lawyers, but even the lawyers don't understand the Constitution because lawyers in Tennessee pass unconstitutional legislation just about as often as they put on their shoes.
And finally, in addition to progressives and liberals, people who identify as such, who watch the MeidasTouch network, we also have a lot of people who identify as independents, people who don't identify with any of those terms, and we have people who identify as conservative, but not MAGA Republican mutation of it, like people who have traditional conservative views, not let's sing jingles with the January 6th insurrectionists and arrest Dr. Fauci version of what MAGA Republicans are. So what's your closing message to kind of the kind of independents, people who traditionally have voted for a Republican before? What do you say to them if they're if they're on the fence right now?
What I say to them is, like I said, we're building this multiracial, multi-generational, multi-partisan coalition. And at my kickoff, I had Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and that was so exciting. They were there because they cared about gun violence. They were there because they cared about women's reproductive rights. They were there because they cared about public education. But there is so much energy across this state for this race. It's just overwhelming to me how much support and how many people are signing up to volunteer every day. I mean, the energy is unbelievable, and we're going to keep that rolling because we want Tennessee families to thrive, and we want to provide the things that they need to thrive. We can stay out of the way, but we can create an environment for everyone to thrive and to lift people into the middle class instead of having them fall out of the middle class. And that is my goal. That's what I want to do. That's what my team wants to do. And that's what so many Tennesseans want to do. This is an absolutely beautiful state with wonderful people. And we need to bring everyone who cares deeply about their community together and win this thing in November. Oh, and you can go to
where do you go? Vote. If people want to help out, where do they go?
They can go to votegloriajohnson.com and find out everything they need to know. Sign up to volunteer if you're in Tennessee, or if you want to make calls from anywhere in the country. And you can also donate if you can, but votegloriajohnson.com.
votegloriajohnson.com. Make sure you check it out. Great having you here. You've been on the show many, many, many times before, and I was thrilled to find out that you were going to be running for this Senate seat. And America needs you there. Our democracy needs you there. Representative Gloria Johnson, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, on our way to 2 million subscribers. And wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. Have a great day.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.